Hello DevOps friends, Maker Blake here. How you doing? Welcome to Full Stack Live. I'm Jochen, the Monospace Mentor, and it's another week and another live stream. I hope you had a good start into the week, and yeah, I did, and I'm happy to be back with my coffee. And speaking of coffee, if you'd like to support the stream, go to ko-fi.com/monospacementor and you can support me with a little contribution to my coffee wallet, if you are so inclined. All right, update. I've been working a lot on my website. If you go to my website, it looks a little bit like before and a little bit it doesn't. And that's because I completely rebuilt it. So, yeah, I mean, why don't I just show you what I mean? So, here on the right, you can see the Monospace Mentor website, and up until recently, it was completely built with a static site generator. I used Bridgetown for that. Bridgetown is a relatively new static site generator for Ruby. Hey, Moo, how you doing? And yeah, I was quite happy with static websites and simplicity and everything, but I had to decide how to deal with all the dynamic things that start coming in with my courses going online, for example. So I needed some way to charge money for course participation, things like that. And up until now, I had decided to use Podia and to take the buy route instead of the make route, and simply subscribe to a Podia plan and have my courses hosted there and have them deal with payment processing and things like that. And that worked really well. And I was happy to support Podia because not only is it a very decent learning platform, it's also built in Ruby on Rails by some very pleasant Ruby developers that also do the remote Ruby podcast, for example. And so yeah, I was happy to pay a little bit of money for that, but I found myself being quite limited by their platform. For example, it did have a community platform, kind of a forum, but it was very limited in its functionality and a far cry from something like Discourse, for example. And so I decided to not use their forum. That was the first thing that had to go. That was mid to late last year. And that theme kept reoccurring, as a theme does, because, yeah, I felt myself limited in many ways, and I wanted to have more flexibility. And so I decided at the beginning of this year to take the do-it-yourself route instead. And so what I did was I took the course information from Podia and put it on my static website. And then I signed up for Memberful, which does payment processing again, and also membership management, which was pretty important because I'm about to launch a membership community in a few weeks' time. And they also allowed single payment processing, so that was great for courses, and that's how I sold all the slots so far in my upcoming Varnish course, where I'm going to talk about Varnish, the cache proxy, in depth over 3 hours. We'll do some theoretical stuff and a lot of practical stuff as well. Yeah, that was nice, but again, Memberful is pretty limited. It does allow connections to Discourse, so it can manage access to the forum itself, and it can also manage access to Discord, since we have a Discord server where everyone's chatting. that was quite nice too. But there it ended. I again felt very boxed in and limited. And just to make things worse, they recently emailed me that they would double their price, while they would also add a few features from their highest tier. The subscription price would rise from $25 to $50. And yeah, that again then pushed me over and made me look for new things. So I decided to take the build-it-yourself route and set up everything in WordPress. And that's what you can see on the screen at the moment. It's actually the source code on the left and the website on the right. I set up a website with WordPress on our hosting platform, which is specialized in running WordPress websites, so that was perfect. And I transferred all the content over manually. I had to rebuild all the pages. Thankfully, it wasn't that much. I got myself a plugin for the learning management system, so I can now run my courses right on the website and have all the course content on the website. The payment processing is built into the LMS plugin, so payments also go right from the website. And that continues. I didn't even realize how many things I can now do from the website itself instead of linking outwards to other services. For example, I set up ConvertKit as my mailing list processor, and ConvertKit is a very nice platform. It's great to use, and it's very popular for a reason. And then I realized that the integration of ConvertKit into my learning management system wasn't that great, but there was a mailing solution for WordPress itself, built by Automatic themselves, called MailPoet. So I integrated that. And with MailPoet, even if I have to have a small subscription to send out emails to more than, I think, no, it's even not. I'm not even reaching the limit, but there was something else that I had to get the non-free subscription. And even that I'm still paying less than I would have for ConvertKit. And again, everything runs from the website. I can actually create the newsletters on the website itself and have them integrated into the website, things like that. So that's great. It also takes care of the whole transactional email stuff as well, so our hosting platform doesn't have to send emails, which is always a tricky thing. Excuse me. And then I was on the lookout for a membership plugin that would not only track one-off purchases of courses, but also ongoing memberships for my upcoming community. And there's a lot of choice out there actually for WordPress, and I looked at quite a few, and I decided to get Paid Memberships Pro, and actually I can use the free plugin for that. I don't need any of the features that would require me to subscribe to a paid subscription of PM Pro. So far, I'm getting away quite cheaply, to be honest. Makeup Legger is, of course, right. It's important to staying up to date, both with the core WordPress code base as well as with plugins. But that's not much of a problem. The nice thing is I can simply, while I can't use the auto-update feature that's built into WordPress, I can easily download the latest plugin, commit that to our Git repository, which you can see here, and push the change, and then it'll roll out on our hosting platform immediately, and that's it. So it's 5 minutes, once a week or something, and that's fine. So yeah, I'm very happy how things are working and how things turned out. Actually, I really love the Gutenberg block editor. That's a really great improvement. I hadn't used WordPress for years until I started this project, and so far I'm very happy how easy it was to get everything together once I was a little bit familiar with the interface and how it works. So yeah, that's the subscription form for the MailPoet newsletter built right into the page. That's the blog with random blog entries. That's another advantage, of course, of having a dynamic blog or website. Every time you refresh the page, you get 3 different blog entries here, just to keep things fresh a little bit. And then here are the 3 main building blocks of the website and the whole Monospace Mentor business, actually. So there are the courses, and that's managed by the learning management plugin that I mentioned. I'm using LearnDash for that. And here you can actually go and take a look at the Varnish Master course and sign up for the course right from the website. And of course, more courses are going to come eventually. Then I have my mentorship website that explains how I can offer coaching and mentorship guidance to people who want to really grow and really make that next career step. That's actually now integrated into the server room, my managed and paid membership community. And that's the page about the server room with a lot of stuff that I have in store for people who join the community. Not only is it personal membership and coaching, it's also live Q&A sessions, of course the forum where members can exchange experiences and ask questions. There are going to be community hangouts and hot seat sessions where I interview community members. Fudersnabel, hello, welcome to the stack. And we'll do group projects. That's basically workshops that I prepare where everyone builds the same thing. For example, a Mastodon instance or something like that from scratch, and I will guide everyone to successfully finish that project. Metacon, good afternoon. How are you today? So yeah, that's that. And yeah, it's very nice. Of course, now I can also have a contact form that isn't dependent on some outside thing. That's something that I couldn't do with the static website either. So yeah, I'm pretty happy how things turned out, but it was a lot of work, a lot of night shifts, and a lot of learning, to be honest. And well, learning is what this channel, what I am all about. And today I'm going to learn about Prometheus monitoring of MySQL databases. So that's what we are going to do today. I need some new monitoring for our databases, and Prometheus has been the chosen one. So I need to look into what's possible with Prometheus in terms of detailed monitoring of MySQL instances. Still a bit sickly, or get well soon, Metacon. I hope it won't take long anymore. Okay, yeah, MySQL and Prometheus. Let's get into it. For example, speaking of DevOps, yeah, go on. Prometheus MySQL. I haven't yet looked into that yet, and I need to find out how this all works. But as always, there seems to be a specific exporter. When I read someone say we pushed the code for DevOps team to deploy, that seems like a weird thing for me to say. Yeah, that's definitely weird. That's someone confusing DevOps and Ops. No, you do. You do understand DevOps. What they mean is Ops. If developers hand over code to someone else for them to deploy it, it only can be Ops. It would be DevOps if they were able to deploy it themselves. But yeah, some people will never learn. I mean, it's not that DevOps is something new. That's really ridiculous. That would actually deserve my new what emote, but unfortunately that has not been approved by Twitch yet. Might be anytime now. Oh, there is the what emote. Why do you want just asking? Hello. Did they approve it? It must have been approved just in a few last minutes, I think. Awesome, awesome, awesome. You'd like to see it. Just a second. Okay. Interesting. I have no idea how the... okay. So it seems the Elgato Wave XLR that I'm using for my microphone, which is connected to the PC via USB-C, does actually transfer that I've muted the microphone, and that then set the microphone device on my PC as muted. And when I unmuted the Wave XLR, it didn't unmute basically Pipewire, basically. So it was muted in hardware and software, and then only in software, and that is really strange. Let me try that right away. Again, I need to see that. Okay, this time it worked. Computers, how do they even work? Okay, so let's keep researching. I think we also need a broken emote or something like that. Yeah, the MySQL Server Exporter needs a user that has at least the process and replication client permissions. That's understandable, otherwise it won't be able to gather the metrics for that, and then it needs to actually ideally have read access to everything. Okay. Probably because this exporter can actually do a lot of things. I'm not sure if we need this full read access, but we'll see. If that's all, that's nice, because all our previous monitoring systems needed basically the same permissions. Then we need what? The exporter supports the multi-target pattern. Single instance of this exporter for multiple MySQL targets. We don't need that, actually, because we only have one MySQL database per host. To avoid putting sensitive information like username and password in the URL, you can have multiple configurations in config.mycnf file and match it by adding auth module equals section to the request. Okay. On the Prometheus side, you can set a scrape configuration as follows. We need a job MySQL. It might need params, but not necessarily. It, of course, needs targets to scrape, which are the MySQL exporter targets. And, of course, Prometheus is not going to talk to the database on port 3306 directly, so we need to relabel these configurations so that Prometheus, in the end, talks to localhost port 9104, which is the MySQL exporter, and the original server address and port will be passed to the exporter via those param target and address labels. No, the param target and yeah. Okay. And then we have a bunch of collector flags. Okay, those need to be investigated separately. Proxy says just put animated GIFs of flames all over the stream when there's tech problems. Yeah, I need something like that. Connected to a button here. And probably a portrait of me with a speech bubble saying this is fine. Okay. So this exporter can collect a lot of stuff, and I'm not sure how much of that we need to switch off, because I don't want to collect more than is actually necessary. That will just increase scraping time and load and stuff. Lots of performance schema information, that's all nice. Replication information is of course very important. Then there's a config file. What does web configuration file mean? The MySQL D exporter supports TLS and basic authentication in order to talk to Prometheus or to talk to the database. We'll see. There's also an environment variable, MySQL D exporter password, where we can actually pass in the password to use. Okay. So is the username hard-coded? Exporter? Okay, configuration precedence. If you have configured CLI with both MySQL D flags and a valid configuration file, the options in the configuration file will override the flags for the client section. Okay. Customizing configuration for an SSL connection. That is if you want to talk SSL to the MySQL server. Okay, we won't need to do that because we'll be running the exporter on the same host as the database, so we can simply talk to the database directly without using SSL. Thank you, what you want, just asking. I keep talking and talking and talking. Speaking of monologues, if you have any questions what I'm doing, or if you have any questions in general, post them in chat. Let's make this thing interactive, shall we? There's also a Docker image, but that's actually not really useful in my situation. All right, so how do we actually install it though? I think we can install it the same way as we do all the exporters. So I guess it's time to do a spike and do a little bit of experimenting. I think, yeah, that's... I need to take a look at the shared infra project. I think that's where we are tracking the monitoring tasks. MySQL isn't actually listed here. Interesting. Let's say we'll add that to the list down here. And there are linked items.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
It is. Can confirm. Oh, Metacon asks, any tips to get started with an IT career? That's very broad. Can you narrow that down a little bit? What is it that you have in mind? What do you want to do? You know, if you keep questions that broad, answers will be broad and not very useful either. Something like, well, study IT and then get a job. So write a few more words what you have in mind. Well done, why do you want just asking? Well done. We should make that a standard operating procedure. Redeem Unix, if I'm ignoring chat. Okay, so wait, are these? These are issues, okay. And there is no MySQL check yet. No issue for that yet. Okay. Let me think this through. I'm not sure yet which specific checks we'll need, but we'll definitely need a basic health check and a replication status check. So I think I'll simply add a few more issues for that, and that means apparently I need to create them in here with the Ubuntu 20 milestone, which this one apparently doesn't have, so let's assign that milestone. Observability restore, that's the one. Wait, didn't that work? Yes, it did. Okay. Yeah, I guess we'll have to create a new issue here. Implement basic MySQL health check. Well, assign that to me because that's what I'm going to work on. New monitoring solution, milestone. observability labels. Scope is infrastructure, severity is a feature, workflow is at the moment in the design phase. That's it. Okay, so that's the general task that I'm going to work on, and now I'll create a... Oh, let's add that here. That's issue number 77. So let's add number 77 as a dependency. This current issue is blocked by... Yeah, I guess it's a blocking issue. That's the only blocking issue now. Can I change that? Okay, that's better. And now we'll have to create a task for the cookbook work that's necessary. So what I'm doing here is I try to separate the several layers of abstraction here. In this shared infra repository, I'm mostly dealing with abstract tasks that basically come from a product management or operations leadership perspective. We need MySQL monitoring in Prometheus, period. And that's what these issues that I've just created represent. And now I switch perspective into the SRE perspective, where I have to actually implement that. And that's going to happen in at least in our Chef Cookbooks repository, maybe in a different one as well. And that's why we have these overarching issues here where everything gets connected together. So I'll go to the Chef Cookbooks repository, where I'm going also to create a new issue. But let's make sure I'm not missing anything. No. Okay. So set up MySQL exporter. Let's call it basic MySQL exporter setup. There might be specific stuff that will go into different cookbooks, but in this case, I have a specific cookbook, namely the Prometheus X cookbook, in mind. What you want just asking, right? It's a dumb question. How can machine learning be helpful to build a backend for applications? Will that become worse decision? It can be helpful to a developer as a tool, as all our tools are. But AI, I don't think that AI alone will be sufficient. It's going to be just another tool in our toolbox. I think a YouTube title that I read recently is quite apt in that context, that said, AI is not going to come for your job. Developers using AI are coming for your job. So it's just about using the tool and So far, for example, I have had a lot of fun using Copilot in my coding because, yeah, it has a good ratio of hits anticipating what I was about to write, and it actually contributed quite nicely, like a little bit of a junior developer in pair programming, basically. And I think that's quite useful. But you won't be able to tell AI, write me a backend for that web application or something. That's not going to happen anytime soon. So, do I need these more abstract things here where I create another issue? Well, we don't need development issues, do we? No. Ah, I know why that was there. The thing is, when I submit a merge request and the merge request gets merged, the process hasn't finished yet. The rollout into testing has finished because that's what's going to happen when we merge a merge request. But then it needs to be tested, and then the same change needs to be rolled out in our production environment. And that's why we have these umbrella issues here, where we can actually track where things are at the moment. So I think we'll actually use this as an umbrella issue for the cookbook changes that are necessary to get a Prometheus exporter for MySQL. Let's maybe use real language. Basic setup of a Prometheus exporter for MySQL. And in this case, it doesn't even have to be basic then. If this is a more abstract umbrella issue, I can say, okay, that is the umbrella issue for the whole Prometheus exporter setup, regardless of how many development issues we'll actually need. So I'll assign that to me. The epic is actually the Ubuntu's 20 project. Milestone is observability restored. Label is going to be the same as before, which means we have a scope that is infrastructure, no product side changes. Then we have a severity, which means we get another feature. And the workflow in this case is still design. Well, actually, the scope of this... Oh, no, I didn't intend to do that. Now I've lost all my changes. Okay, once more. Islam doesn't seem to have much success using ChatGPT. Jetty Jeeps. That's the observability milestone. And again, workflow. Well, let's say this one is actually in implementation on an abstract level. Scope is infra and severity is a feature. Okay, I think that's enough. Let's create this. And we've already assigned labels. Now we create development issues, starting with the first one. Does it make sense to work with tasks here? Since I don't know, let's give it a try. title here is going to be add MySQL exporter installation or implement MySQL exporter installation. Let's create this task. And here it is. And that's 898. And we'll start with that. It doesn't have labels yet. So now this is the first change that we'll have a cookbook assigned. That's the Prometheus X cookbook. Workflow is implementation. Scope is again infra and severity is feature. Okay, how do I... Oh, that's those changes are made immediately, so I can check off assign labels. We do not have... the goal description is add the basic installation of the MySQL server exporter to the Prometheus X cookbook. And in this case, we don't need to create sub-issues. Okay. Yes, that's actually true for the Snabel, yeah. Chat GPT heißt, it means cat I farted. Okay, so now we're going into the coding side of things, which will always start, and that's why I have this long preamble of setting up issues with creating a new branch. I need to make sure I have the latest changes, which I do, which is nice, and then I can use git new branch using the issue number, or in this case the task number, that's 898. Right, 898 is this task. Is there a way I can tell from this metadata? No, I think I have to look at the URL actually. I'm still getting used to these latest changes in the GitLab UI. So 898 Prometheus X MySQL. Now we can start changing stuff. As always, this is going to be Chef infrastructure as code, which means I'm going to write recipes. In this case, it's going to be the MySQL _exporter.rb. Which will need at least a frozen string literal comment, and then I'll have to look at, say, the black box exporter. We'll need to use the Prometheus X install resource here to get the MySQL exporter. Install. I hope that's possible, even though the MySQL exporter is stored in its own or released to its own repository, but that is, I think, only a matter of attributes. Here in the components hash, I have stored the different exporters, and there is actually a MySQL D exporter. But since there is no URL included, won't it try and get this from the Prometheus repository? Let's take a look at the install resource. So it's going to use the URL interpolate function to get the mirror format. That's also defined as a attribute here. It's all under cookbook name, and cookbook name has the value Prometheus X. Just a second, I just realized that I have been running my iPad but not adding power. So I'm gonna lose it soon. Okay, that's better. Well, that's interesting. Prometheus itself has an exporter. That's new to me, but let's take a look at github.com/Prometheus. There is an actual MySQL D exporter, which seems to be different from the MySQL exporter that I saw before. Nope. Huh? Oh, I was looking at that all along. Okay. That's part of the Prometheus organization. I did actually not notice. For some reason I thought it would be separate. That's of course awesome, because that makes things much easier. We'll just have to update our versions and checksums. We'll need, I guess we'll catch the latest version, which is 0.15.1. So that's that, and of course there's going to be a different checksum. Let's take a look at that. We'll need the Linux AMD64.tarball. So let's see. Where's the AMD 64 one? Let me get it this way. Okay. Now, the name is MySQL D exporter. And actually, let's simply start with that. We'll add it to our test setup. where I guess will I have to set up a new test suite for that, because I might actually want to install MySQL for that. Yeah, I think we should not use MySQL on the yeah. I'll copy the whole test suite, even though I won't need even the half of that. So let's call this MySQL, where we'll need, I guess, only the MySQL D exporter. MySQL D exporter. Yeah, and I guess Prometheus itself. And the test cookbook with its stabilize recipe. And then we'll need a few Prometheus settings, in this case the scrape interval. We won't need a scrape job from Prometheus, we won't need one for the node exporter, but we need one for the MySQL D exporter. And I will see how we do the target discovery for that. The ping stuff can go. And then we'll probably have some MySQL D exporter stuff. No alert manager, no black box exporter. Okay. If it turns out that the separate test suite is not necessary, we can always merge that into the one of the test suites above. But that should do the trick. Okay. And this will actually... Well, let's keep the order as it was. This will actually set up MySQL D exporter and Prometheus. And we will need a test suite eventually. So let's create a MySQL directory here. Nope, wrong level. Here. Not sure how the tests are going to look like yet. All right, that should make it possible to change into the Prometheus X cookbook directory and see that we now have two shiny new MySQL test instances. And let's go ahead and convert one. MySQL Ubuntu 2004. Soon there's going to be a 2404 in here as well. Now, what happens here is that the test kitchen test suite runs a VM using Vagrant and KVM. And this VM will use the Ubuntu 20 source image or base image. At the moment, it has just installed Chef on it, and now it has transferred my code to the VM and tried to run it, and it immediately broke, even though this recipe is really pretty short. Could not find recipe MySQL D exporter for cookbook Prometheus X, which is probably because I named it MySQL exporter. But let's try and keep things consistent. Otherwise, things will be very confusing. I mean, I could always call this MySQL exporter as well, but as you can see, the original application is named MySQL D exporter. And yeah, once you start bringing in these inconsistencies, then you'll always have typos and be confused why it works with a D or without a D, and yeah, we should avoid that from the start. So let's give this another try. Fortunately, it doesn't have to recreate this VM, it'll just reuse it, and now it can be executed, but it again dies because it could not get the MySQLD exporter 0.15.1.tar.gz. Yeah, there is more to that. It needs the AMD 64 one. Why is it missing that? Is there anything we need on top of that? We always just say black box exporter and stuff like that. And the file name format is actually Linux-AMD64 with the component and the version. So why is that missing from the file then? That is strange. So we have this URL interpolate method that takes the format string. In this case, it's the mirror format and it passes in the version. And then it also uses the file name format. Which has the AMD64 in it. And then it tries to concatenate mirror and file. And I think it did actually... Oh, I can see. Checksum mismatch occurred. So it's not the problem that the file name doesn't work or something. It's actually that there was a checksum mismatch. So I must have copied the wrong checksum here. And that was simply because I didn't make the window big enough. So let's go back to our SHA-sums, and this time I'll copy the right one. That's this here, Linux AMD 64. Yeah, that's different. Let's give this another try. Tiberian! Welcome to the stack, mate. How you doing? Yep, I'm working. I'm trying to get the MySQLD exporter for Prometheus set up. And it again broke because... Invalid user Prometheus. Interesting. I left something out that I shouldn't have. Yeah, the Prometheus user does not exist. So I failed to copy something important, and that is the default recipe up here. That needs to be excluded. I did not want to get the syscontrol recipe because that's only necessary for the black box exporter specifically. But the default recipe needs to be included almost every time because it does the basic setup like installing the Prometheus user. So that should do the trick. Tiberian, why are you so happy to see me working? Do you think I don't work enough? I will let you know that I work a lot. recently I've been working overtime to get my new monospacementor.com website online, which actually, by the way, I left that out earlier when I described what the many things that I did to get the WordPress website set up. The website is now actually running without the www prefix. It's just http monospacementor.com, and that's because thanks to WordPress I was able to also include the ActivityPub plugin. And that means that you can actually now, on, for example, Mastodon, subscribe to blog at monospacementor.com, and you'll get my new blog entries right to your Mastodon inbox, or into your Mastodon timeline, actually, which is pretty nifty. Yeah, that's what I thought, Tiberian. It's always nice to be able to take a look over the shoulder of other people. All right, so we are getting forward step by step, but the problem here is that the test cookbook, which basically has a step built in to wait for the Prometheus server to not only start but also stabilize, breaks because the Prometheus server has some issue, and that's probably because I did not copy enough things. So it wasn't able to connect to localhost 9090, which is Prometheus itself. And we should take a look at why that is. And thankfully, it's easy to actually log into this test instance. I have an alias set up for Test Kitchen login, namely a TKS, so Test Kitchen shell, and I'll simply tell it the instance that I'd like to log into, and that's in this case MySQL Ubuntu 2004, which gives me a Vagrant shell, which then gives me a root shell. And I guess we could simply take a look at, or let's check if Prometheus has been started by now. It is actually active. Interesting. Server is ready to receive web requests. Huh. How about we do a curl localhost 9090? Okay. So the test recipe failed because Prometheus wasn't available quickly enough. Let's take a look at what the stabilize does. It tries to get access to Prometheus, but if it doesn't, it waits for a second and then tries again, and does that for 30 seconds. And it still didn't work? Even though it's now there? That is interesting. Let's try another converge, which TKC means Test Kitchen Converge, which is basically a full chef run. And Iberian, thanks for the expert's compliment. I really appreciate it. I can assure you that I often feel like I'm a total imposter. Sometimes it feels like the only thing I do differently to other developers is that I fail publicly on a stream. Yeah, here's the stabilize recipe, which will make 30 tries, and that actually breaks. Even though... Oh, I know why! I know why. Because of what it does. It queries up equals 0 and does a grep for exporter 1, which means it tries to find a node exporter metric that says that exporter 1 is not up. And that's intentional. It shouldn't be up. Exporter 1 is basically an invented host that should never be up, but it allows us to simply make this query. But there is no entry for exporter 1 because the node exporter doesn't run. So we need to run the node exporter simply for the stabilize recipe here to work, which is not great, but I can see why it is that way. How much do we need then? I need the node exporter recipe, I guess. So we don't need only the MySQL exporter, but also the node exporter. And then we need a little bit of configuration, don't we? No? But we'll need a node exporter scrape configuration. If it doesn't scrape the node exporter, we won't get the metric that we need. Okay. Let's see if this works, but not inside the VM, but outside. I wonder if there's another way to find out if Prometheus is ready to run. By now it should have been working. Do we have a node exporter running even? Status node exporter. It is listening and active, yes. But it still doesn't work. So let me see the actual query here. We do prompt tool query instant Prometheus for up equals 0. Let's do prompt tool query instant and try the Prometheus host. Do we get all the metrics then? Let's see. Prompt tool query instant HTTP localhost 1990. We need an expression. Okay, let's do up equals 0. And there is an entry for node exporter now. That grep should get something. So everyone says curl to 1990 should be enough. In my case now, that might be correct. In the past, though, especially when we tried to test a few things around the node exporter, we actually needed to wait. I think the problem that we had to solve back then was if you want to actually test the node exporter setup, you of course need to query a few metrics. But in order to get these metrics, you need to leave Prometheus a little bit of time to do an actual scrape run. At least one times it needs to query the node exporter to collect the metrics, and then you can query Prometheus to get the metrics. So maybe we don't even need the stabilize recipe here. And having said that, if there is no need, we shouldn't actually use it. That's practiced cargo culting. Just because the other test suite up there needed it for some reason doesn't mean we need it. So if we can go without it, then nice. If it turns out that we need it, then let's actually confirm that, and then we can add it back in. But that will simplify things, and why not have simplification if it's possible? So with that, I should now be able to convert this. I mean, it'll reuse the VM that's already running, so node exporter is on there still, but it shouldn't interfere. It did rewrite the Prometheus configuration though, so there will be no scrape jobs towards the node exporter anymore. So yeah, that's basically what we need at this time. And since the converge has finished, we should actually be able to start writing some basic tests for this. In this case, for example, something like this here. Well, interesting. For the black box exporter, I didn't even test if the service is running, because this HTTP request here to port 9115, which is the black box exporter, implicitly proves if the service is running. Yeah, I guess we could simply copy that and add a file called mysqld exporter spec.rb. And we'll make a request to... Now, to what? Let's take another look at the Prometheus configuration down here. 9104 is the default port for the MySQL exporter. 9104, and we won't use any additional query parameters so far, but the HTTP request to this port should at least be successful and return an A200. As Tiberian said, curl to the port should be sufficient, and in this case it's the curl to the MySQL exporter port, and we can always explore how we can make this test a little bit more sophisticated. So with that, let's see manually if this does actually work. Localhost 9104. That does not look good, actually. Let me see. That's the node exporter, so let's take a look at the MySQL exporter. Does this? It's not even defined. Yeah, of course it's not defined, because all that we do in our recipe up here is install it, which does not mean take it into commission. But that's also just a copy and paste away. Apart from the whole configuration setup that the black box exporter requires, we can simply ignore that and copy its systemd unit to the MySQL exporter. MySQL exporter.service. It needs to be created, enabled, and started. We'll call it MySQL exporter. Here it's more verbose, and I don't mind there not being a D in this case. We'll still use the Prometheus user to run the service. That should do the trick. And then we'll run user local bin MySQL exporter with, if we can get away, not using any arguments, then let's do that. We'll see if that actually works. So let's try and converge this additional resource. Tools like Chef, configuration management tools like Chef work in a way that's called idempotent, which means You can run it as many times as you want, and it'll only try to change things on the system if they don't match the definitions that I'm writing here in my Ruby code. So if the system is already in a state that matches the desired state, Chef won't make any changes. It'll simply run through all the resources that I've defined and realize that everything is in place already, and then it'll quit again. Chef runs will eventually be very, very short because everything is as it should be. In this case, it's short because it breaks, and that's probably because the MySQL D exporter didn't work. Systemd couldn't start it because it's probably missing at least a few basic arguments, and that's why the service failed. And if the service resource fails, then the whole recipe and run fails as well. So we'll need to find out how this is set up here. I would say we'll simply try and run it manually, and it'll probably tell us what's missing. User local bin MySQL D. Ooh. We didn't install it properly. You see, in the definition for MySQL D exporter, we did tell it the version and the checksum, so it downloads the tarball and installs it. I need a better mute button. But it did not install the binary, and we'll steal that from, say, the black box exporter up here. So it does have to symlink the MySQL D exporter binary to user local bin 2 after installing everything. And that might be the ticket if it works without arguments. Yes, it does. Let's take a look at its status. I did start, and so systemd was happy to be able to enable and start it, but it did not keep running because no configuration found, and it tries to parse a host configuration file like .my.cnf. There's also no user specified, so yeah, we don't have any configuration. Let's see. User local bin MySQL D exporter. Okay, it tries to start it, and it says failed to validate config, no user specified in section or parent, and then it errors out parsing the host configuration, which probably tells it how to access MySQL. Okay, so let's see. General flags. Here's config mycnf. So it needs a .my.cnf file where it can read the credentials from. That is interesting. Convenient. Question is, how do we build all that? Because yeah, I'm starting to look a little bit closer at the problem, and it might be that setting up the test environment with a working MySQL instance to be monitored might be very imbalanced in terms that the MySQL setup will probably take up 80% of the effort and the monitoring only 20%. I could use one of our cookbooks that already automates the whole MySQL setup. Maybe even including generating this my.cnf file. But that'll be another dependency that I'd rather avoid if possible. Because just for testing purposes, having a dependency to something complex as a MySQL cookbook, not too fond of that idea. And since I just ran out of coffee, you know what? I'll take a short break and get myself a bottle of water, and that'll give me a few seconds to think about things, how far I want to go down this rabbit hole. Tiberian says there should be an end variable for the exporter. Yeah, at least there's a MySQL D exporter password, but that's not really the issue. What I'm wondering at the moment is, do I actually set up a MySQL instance just to be able to test the MySQL D exporter setup? I guess the answer is yes, because only then I'll have confidence that the exporter is set up correctly and is going to be set up correctly when we actually tie it to our production databases. But the question is, how do I get... What's the cheapest way to get a working MySQL instance here? And I think that's actually... Yeah. We'll probably just have to install the package that'll give us a running MySQL instance already. We might have to create the my.cnf file if that doesn't get created automatically. But yeah, I think we won't have to have too much ceremony here. But hey, as I said, I'll take a quick break, get my few steps in and water bottle, and then I'll be back. See you in a few minutes, and I'll run.
Subs in launch mode. We are at DEFCON 1. DEFCON 1.
Shari makes art. Welcome, Raiders. Welcome, welcome. Use the attack command if you like, and viewers, use the defend command. So let me defend myself by shredding incriminating documents. I was just about to take a break to get a water bottle. Yeah. Defend! And then you come in. Welcome, Raiders. I'm Jochen, the Monospace Mentor, and I'm happy to have you here. All right. How was your stream, Shari Makes Art? What did you do today? Exegete coming in as well, coming to the defense. Learning about data persistence using Room for Android apps. Let me look that up. Android Development Room. Save data in a local database using Room. Apps that handle non-trivial amounts of structured data can benefit greatly from persisting that data locally. Yeah, makes sense.
I know this.
Hanzo, hi. Welcome to the stack. Thank you for the follow. Exegete guessed correctly. The Room Persistence Library provides an abstraction layer over SQLite to allow fluent database access while harnessing the full power of SQLite. Yeah, I think that will probably be part of almost every mobile application And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's even going to be across all platforms, because I would bet that both Android and iOS both use SQLite behind the curtain for their data persistence framework. Oh, that of course, that makes things much easier. If you're already familiar with SQLite, then it's just this abstraction layer, and that shouldn't make things more complex. Shouldn't make things even easier, I guess. All right, folks, I'll be right back. Give me a few minutes to grab a bottle of water, and then we'll do some more monitoring setup, because that's what I'm doing at the moment. We run a managed hosting platform, and since it's a managed hosting platform for Drupal and WordPress, we run a lot of MySQL servers, and we need to build a new monitoring system for our latest incarnation of our infrastructure, which is based on Prometheus for the monitoring. So what I'm doing today is set up the MySQL D exporter for Prometheus that will give us a lot of metrics about the health and status of our databases. And I'd say we are about a third of the way there, and I hope to get this finished this stream. But let me first grab some water so I don't dehydrate. I'll play an ad as well, so stick with me, and I'll be here in a few minutes. And I'm back. Thanks for waiting. Senor Kai, welcome to the stack. Good to have you. All right, let's grab some water. I hope I won't need the whole bottle. That would mean that I'm running into far too many issues, but we'll see. Okay, so my last thought before Shari Makes Art raided us was that I somehow need to have a MySQL instance so I can actually exercise the monitoring and write a few tests. Because, yeah, let's start there. I really, really, really love tests. Even test-driven development. Thanks for that, Exegete. I see what you're trying there. Oh dear. Yeah, tests. I mean, tests are always great, and you can, of course, read everywhere about test-driven development and all these things, and people praising it. But it's really true. When I started out building my company in 2010, I was busy writing infrastructure code to get my stuff set up so I don't have to set up things manually, because the number of servers we had to run was growing consistently. And so we didn't write any tests. I actually didn't know about tests in the first place when I started out. And later, I learned about tests, but decided that there wasn't any time. We needed to get more stuff automated before we start using or writing tests. The problem with that attitude was that rolling out changes or new stuff in our infrastructure became more and more of a game of anxiety. And so often things actually broke after rolling out changes, even minor changes. You know how it is. You think, yeah, that's just a quick change, and then you'll introduce some kind of a regression. And so at one point I realized, okay, we need more tests. We need to start writing tests for the existing code, and if possible, if we introduce new code, it needs to be accompanied by tests as well. And we started doing that, and lo and behold, rollouts weren't as anxious anymore, and we could even make rollouts on a Friday, being pretty confident that they won't break things, because they came with tests, and those tests had at least a decent coverage and covered the most important things. And if we found out that there was still some kind of a regression or an error in there, we simply applied the pattern of, if there is a bug, then fix the bug and accompany that bug fix with another test, add more tests as things mature. And by now we have a solid amount of tests that get applied when we roll out or even before we merge our infrastructure code. And so, yeah, that's something that I can recommend from the deepest depths of my heart. Write tests for your code, because you'll sleep much, much better. And to give me that peace of mind for the MySQL monitoring that I'm building at the moment, I'll have to actually write a test setup that has a MySQL instance and monitoring for that instance, and that monitoring should be confirmed to work. So before the break, I thought, how can we get that done with minimal effort? And realized, yeah, actually the minimal effort is simply to set up MySQL, to install the MySQL package. Because especially on Ubuntu, if you install, or when you install the MySQL package, MySQL does get started automatically. And that takes care of running a MySQL instance. It can simply run in the basic setup that comes out of the package. And then we might have to set up the user and configuration file for the monitoring user. And that's it. We don't even need a container Tiberian, because the test infrastructure here, or the test framework, already sets up a VM for the whole testing, and so we can actually simply install MySQL as it would be on a production machine. Not in its production configuration, mind you, but right out of the package. We don't need the isolation or the replaceability or things like that that a container would give us. That's just not necessary here. You know what? Give me a minute and I'll build myself a mute button. Yeah, I think I can do that right away. Let me grab my browser here. Or no, I'll grab a new browser. I'll even let you watch. So let's see. I need my companion management UI, and let's go to stream. I'll use this button here. Let's create a button, and we'll need OBS. In this case, it's either source volume, but I'd rather have audio muted or something. Source mute. Here we go. And in this case, it's going to be in a microphone. The A microphone source. Oh, it lists the sources directly. We don't have to deal with scenes even. Okay. So that's going to be the Wave XLR mute. True. There's no toggle, which means we'll make it a multi-step setup, but let's first add some feedback. In this case, the feedback of the key should be if it's muted or not. Output active. Volume. Audio muted. Okay. Audio muted for the Wave XLR. That's the case. We'll make the button red. That should be it. We should give it a name though. We'll call it mute. Okay. Let's see if this works. But we'll need to make this a multi-step process, otherwise I won't be able to unmute myself. So the next step is going to be... I think we can simply pick from the list now, right? Yeah, source mute. In this case, we'll use Wave XLR false. Feedback will still be the same, which means I should be able to mute myself. And unmute myself. There we go. Shall we make this a different color? Maybe use a slightly red hue so I can easily find it. Yeah, that looks nicely. Unfortunately, I can't make Companion make this button blink, so it'll catch my eye. But yeah, we might have to have a redemption can't here as well. Okay, so at least that makes my coughing a little bit easier, and I don't have to reach that far. Okay. Now, the problem I'll have to solve now is that I need to have additional logic that sets up MySQL, and that can't be part of the setup recipe because, of course, we don't want our monitoring to always come with its own MySQL instance. We only need that MySQL instance for testing. Oh, I know you were just messing, but knowing myself, I will go ahead eventually and mute myself and not unmute myself anymore. Okay, so maybe I should make this button green. Give me just a second. That's not it. That was an extra window. Doing it off cam now. Let's make this dark green. That makes more sense. Green is good, red is watch out. So focus. So we can't add the MySQL installation in the actual recipe that will be used in production because that would mean the monitoring always gets rolled out with a MySQL instance. And even though there should be a MySQL instance that gets monitored, that needs to be taken care of elsewhere. And so good thing that we already have a test cookbook that comes nested in here. It's called Prometheus X Test. And that has the aforementioned stabilize recipe in there. And I think we can easily add another recipe in here that we'll call mysql.rb. And what that does is install the MySQL package, actually the MySQL server package, and then we'll of course have to include that in our test suite. We won't include it in our production run list. That will only include the MySQL D exporter, or actually, yeah, the MySQL D exporter recipe, but we'll need the test recipe, and I think I can steal that line from up here, where we use the node exporter text file test recipe, and here we'll include the MySQL recipe. And actually we'll install that first, and then we'll install the MySQL D exporter, which should then almost immediately have access to the MySQL D instance, and Prometheus will then get proper metrics from the MySQL D exporter. If we set up things in that order, it should be working neatly. We could mix up the order a little bit because, yeah, the MySQL D exporter will probably try to reach the MySQL instance for a while until it's up. But I think that's the ideal order of things. First set up MySQL on this host, then install the MySQL D exporter, and then install Prometheus, and Prometheus will then talk to the exporter, and the exporter will talk to MySQL. That should work. And as always, when we use the conditional, we need to confirm our assumptions. So now things will still not quite work because the Prometheus exporter won't be able to access MySQL. And there is an issue with the packages. That's always tedious. The problem here is that it tries to install very specific packages, in this case MySQL Server 8.0.32, Ubuntu 2_all, something, and those are not available. Those all result in 404s, which means the package database on this test instance is outdated. we simply need to run an apt-get update, as apt actually suggests itself. And that is actually possible easily because we've already automated that too. All I need to add is the apt cookbook and that requires a development dependency. Again, in production, we shouldn't have to update the package list. That should already be taken care of by some other system level recipe or something. Otherwise, each and every one of our recipes or cookbooks would have to run an apt update, and that would be 30 apt update per chef run. That wouldn't make any sense. This needs to be run at a central location, but we'll make it a test dependency, so we'll simply add the apt cookbook in the Burks file, which is basically the list of test dependencies. Okay, with that, Chef should start out by updating the package list, which it now does. And now the installation of MySQL should actually be able to fetch the proper packages. And this does look good. This pause just means that it's downloading the packages and installing them. And in case of MySQL, those might be quite a few. Yep, this seems to work. Again, while I am prepared to do long monologues here, if you have any questions, if you are curious what I'm doing here in the first place, or if there's anything that you'd like to ask that's completely off topic, feel free to do so. This is an interactive stream and I'm happy to help. Don't hesitate to interrupt and ask stuff if you are so inclined. Of course, it's fine if you lurk. You can do that too. Okay, so MySQL is installed. Praxeus keeps splitting his focus. Yeah, no worries. Keep working, keep lurking. It's not expected, but I want to encourage everyone to pop into chat if they want to. Or if they have a question. Sometimes people tend to hold back a little bit just to not derail the topic or something like that. Exegete asks, what type of things are you hoping to monitor with Prometheus? Operating system level stats, long queries? Well, in this case, or let's start differently. Operating system level stats, that's already taken care of. That's why we already have the original test setup. I'll get that on screen for you. Up here we have the Prometheus suite, and that already uses the node exporter, even the black box exporter, to export basic operating system level metrics like CPU load, disk space, all these common things that you want to know about your host, and that's already taken care of. Today, I've added a new test suite that is focused solely on MySQL. So what we want to test here is basically a few health metrics that might tell us that something is not okay. Jean-Marc, welcome to the stack. It is a Unix system. So there are a few things that might give an indication that MySQL, for example, is not configured correctly, or that it doesn't have enough resources. or maybe we have used up 90% of the connections in our connection pool, so that should actually give an alert, because that means either the connection pool is sized too little or too small, or there are too many connections for some reason. That's one thing. And then another very important thing is replication status. We usually run all our MySQL databases in clusters where data gets replicated between cluster nodes. So we can always take one node down and then switch over to the other node. Or, of course, what we anticipate is that eventually the active node will go down for some reason, and then we should be able to switch to the other node. And only realizing then that replication has not been working for the last 4 hours, that would be catastrophic. So we always need to know that replication is within parameters, which probably means within a few seconds of the active database. And these are the metrics that I'd hope to get from the MySQL D exporter here. So now we have MySQL working. That's another step to success. What we don't have, I guess, is a .my.cnf. I'm not even sure I can connect to MySQL directly. Okay. Do I want to change credentials here? So the current state is that MySQL does not have a root password, right? If I do MySQL-u root, okay, and if I actually say use an empty password, okay. Can I express that in a my.conf? Let's find out what the actual syntax for that is. MySQL my.cnf. Using option files. I'm using a newly installed Firefox, and that's why it keeps asking me for passwords and cookie permissions and all that stuff. Okay, my.cnf. What should that contain? Client. I guess then password is empty. We can use an empty string here. And is it user? I would assume that it's user, right? I mean, that is confirmed quite quickly. Oh, where's the reference file for that? Config editor. System variables. I don't really care. Is there a list of stuff that I think it's too many things. Instance of the -- user option. Option file syntax. Opt name. Equivalent to -- opt name on the command line. Okay, let's give this a try. So if do I have VI even? Yeah, I do. Nice. .my.cnf. We'll have a client section here where I say user root. And password, let's try something that's going to break. just to see that it actually uses the myCNF. No, it does not. Not voluntarily. Wait, what? MySQL supports the following options. MySQL and client groups of an option file. Using option files. Here we go. No, I need the user option file. We could use defaults file. Do not read any. No, we do want to use. Use an option file. Yeah. 6121 end user guidelines for. No, that's not what I am concerned about at the moment. Really? User option file. (4223) command line options that affect option file handling. Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking for. 4223. Let's see. 4223. That's 6222. No. Wait, what? Chapter 4 is downgrading MySQL. That can't be it. Command line options, option file handling. Let's look for that. Option file handling. 6223. Defaults extra file, defaults file, defaults group success. Okay. What is the actual default file that it uses? It's always these little things that usually are taken care of for you, and only if you need to modify them, you realize that you don't know them. Because you've been spoiled all the time. Theo, welcome to the stack. Working hard or hardly working, that's perfectly correct. I leave it to you to find out which one it is. How are you, mate? Shout out to Theo. Okay, so yeah, this is surprisingly opaque here. MySQL default options file. Using, I think that's what I already have open, right? Why is Vimium not working here? Oh, I haven't installed it in this browser instance. Let's take care of that quickly. I can't work without Vimium. Dear me. Okay, option defaults, command line options. And Balthazar is joining us as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good time zone? Yeah, good time zone. Let's try that mute button. Working nicely. Brilliant. Oh, you've been sick, Exegete. Sorry to hear that. Get better soon. Everyone's sick at the moment. Oh, no, 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 no. Okay, that was a car going by outside. I thought that would be a jackhammer, but it was the motor of a passing car. Oh, Balthazar, Balthazar, that's not good. I hope you'll have a better outlook soon. Yeah. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. MySQL my.cnf. Wow. Oh, no, it's home.my.cnf. Why is that not valid in my case? Okay, I can use --help to find out how things are. Well, that's good to know. Let's give this a try. MySQL --help. Default options are read from the following files: etc mycnf, etc mysql, and then home.my.cnf. And the groups are MySQL and client. Okay. So I have created a .my.cnf. Oh, client is the wrong section. Client is the actual MySQL client library, I think, and not the MySQL command line client. Let's try and change that. Ah, that was my misunderstanding here. I think if I turn this into MySQL... Ah, it still connects. Drat. I hate... the one time I don't want it to work, it does work. This is so annoying. Maybe it's because I'm using the wrong keywords in it. Now I need to find the contents of a mycnf file. Oh man. Total basics. User equals root, password equals my password. When I connect via the command line to MySQL, it picks up the details in my option file, but the MySQL utilities don't. Okay. Yeah, the utilities have their own sections like MySQL dump and diff. Let's try client and MySQL then. That is really strange. So let's copy this and have a client section as well as a MySQL section. I just wanted to use the wrong password here, but it does not. I think the MySQL configuration files are actually ini file syntax. MySQL is very old, so they might have just adopted the ini syntax. Toml, of course, is much, much younger, but it's not supposed. MySQL -- help again, less. There's an actual I am a dummy option. I haven't seen that before. Save updates -u I am a dummy. That's cute. Okay, those are all MySQL stuff. Not interested in that. Print defaults. Print the program argument list and exit. Or no defaults, except for login file. What is the login file, though? Read this path from the login file. Default options. Maybe we have another file that overrides everything? Maybe it's that? Let's see. If I say print defaults, what happens? -- print defaults. MySQL would have been started with the following arguments. User root, password, user root, pass. It'll use both sections? Okay, interesting. So if I get rid of that... Yeah, that actually changed it, okay. So it uses my user and password. It still works. Now, if I say user foo, password bar, print defaults. Okay, that does not work. User root, password bar, does work. Can someone explain that to me? This whole password stuff is taking more time than the actual setup of the monitoring system. But I need to understand this. Can't just ignore that. I'm setting a password that then doesn't get used. But obviously the username does get used. Did I write password wrong? Surely there would be a syntax error or something like that, right? Yeah. Unknown variable password equal... Wait. Wait. Syntax? No, it is actually password equals. Get your passwords in quotes. In case you have special characters. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, I did not set the font size for this browser version correctly. Zoom level, we'll use a different zoom level. We'll use 120% at least. Okay. That should make it easier for you to see what I'm doing. This is so confusing. I mean, if I do it explicitly, huh? You must be fucking kidding me. What is this sorcery? Yeah, Praxis, the same goes for my 1Password, master password. I keep mistyping that as well. How does this work? How does passing in a completely wrong password still work? If I do -p and I enter something, this still works. What? This is an out-of-the-box installed MySQL. The only explanation I have is that there is some kind of a strange configuration that if the user comes in via the local Unix socket and is root, then allow everything? Let's try forcing network access. That does work, okay. Still works, of course. What? How does this authentication work? That's completely new to me. That must be something that came with MySQL 8. Why? What? MySQL root has always access regardless of password. MySQL root always has access. Is that my issue? Setting up a new server, 8028. We have 36. Logged in. I have run MySQL secure installation and flushed religious and rebooted. It still does not ask me for a password. I have also tried to update this. Identified by. When I attempt to log in, I simply am automatically logged in. If I type anything from MySQL root, I assume it's not just working out that I'm server root and letting me in. How do I configure this? Yeah, I think that's pretty much the issue that I have too. Caching SHA-2 password. Oh, we have a cache in place? For information about the implications of this change for server operation and compatibility with server clients and connectors, see caching SHA-2 password. Select version. Identify with MySQL native password. Let's see. Let's look into this. The caching SHA-2 password and SHA-256 password authentication plugins provide more secure password encryption. Due to these superior security and performance characteristics, it's, as of MySQL 8, the preferred authentication plugin. Okay, fair enough. I always like more security. Clients that use an account authenticate must use either a secure connection via TSL or an unencrypted connection that supports password exchange using an RSA key pair. That's the RSA issue, yeah. So is that a caching thing? System control restart MySQL server? No, it's just MySQL. Okay. Still works. Makeup Lecker says root always has access. So just to be clear, what's confusing me is not that root has access. That's to be expected if MySQL gets set up from the distribution package. I would hope that at least root has access and that the permissions are set in a way, and even might have an empty password. What I really don't understand is if I pass in a password that is definitely false, I still get access. That's the strange thing, and I can't explain that, and I would like to understand that. I really would. But I should rephrase my question here. MySQL, why does root always have access, or why does root have access with any password? That's the actual problem here. Is it normal that one can access MySQL as root without entering a password, although password is set? That's a different issue. That might have been because you didn't flush your privileges. Ubuntu's MySQL packages use by default the auth socket plugin. With this plugin, when connecting from the local machine, no password is required, but the server identifies the operating system user and matches that user. So if you are root on the system and log in, you become root. This avoids having to set up a MySQL root password first. So that's the auth socket plugin. That is the actual thingy. Hydrating. Thank you. Okay. That is really strange. So if you're root on the system and log in, you become root. This avoids having to set up a MySQL root password first. And if you create a MySQL user with the same username as your Unix username, identified via auth socket, and you can log in with no password too. So that's the auth socket thingy. But as soon as you set a password, Okay. Show grants for root. Right. Root at. No, that's not actually what I was looking for. And there's actually no talk about via auth socket or something. And once you set a password, which is the normal case that I'm used to, then this auth socket gets disabled. Okay, I was completely unfamiliar with this default setting. MySQL auth socket. Socket peer credential pluggable authentication. The server-side auth socket authentication plugin authenticates clients that connect from the local host to the Unix socket file, which is the normal case, yeah. Plugin uses the SO peer cred socket. After modifying myCNF, restart the server. Suppose that a MySQL account is created for an operating system user named Valerie, who is to be authenticated by the auth socket plugin for connections from the local host to the socket file. So you simply say identified with auth socket. If a user on the localhost with a login name of Stephanie invokes MySQL with the option user equals Valerie to connect through the socket file, the server uses auth socket to authenticate the client. Plugin determines that the user option value, Valerie, differs from the client's username and refuses the connection. Phew. If a user named Valerie tries the same thing, the plugin finds that the username and the MySQL username are both Valerie and permits the connection. However, the plugin refuses the connection even for Valerie if the connection is made using a different protocol, such as TCP/IP. Okay. So that must be what admits the root user here. Okay. So that was confusing, but TIL. It's all about learning here at Monospace Industries. Let's see, where did we get stuck? We did set up MySQL, and root had mysterious access permissions, which means we should now be able to allow the MySQL D exporter to access MySQL 2. Let's find out how. It needs the MySQL username and password, I guess, too. So ideally, you simply pass in the config.mycnf value, and that uses my.cnf by default. Which means if I... Well, let me fix my CNF then. If I now run user local bin MySQL D exporter, that actually seems to work. It scrapes global status, global variables, slave status, information schema.
Unix system. I know this.
Wait, Captain C135, welcome to the stack. Good to have you. Thank you for your follow. Okay. Did that work because I have that mycnf file? Yes, it did. Okay. We can make that a little bit easier by using shell expansion. Okay, so now it works. Does the service itself work? No, it doesn't. But if it uses the Prometheus user. So the Prometheus user needs the mycnf file as well. The Prometheus user has home Prometheus as its home directory. That is... Really? Prometheus, let's see, password. Home Prometheus, that's a bad choice. Why did we do that? We did not actually define it, huh? That's the user resource. It's a system user, and we didn't define the home directory, so it uses home Prometheus by default. If I now change that, is this a breaking change? I think we didn't actually have an API. So, what's the... Is it home, though? And is Copilot hallucinating, or is there an actual home attribute that we just don't use? Wow, there is kind of a home. So that's basically opt Prometheus. That's where Prometheus gets installed, and where the Prometheus YAML. Well, that's the standard Prometheus YAML, though. We have etc Prometheus YAML. And I would like to put these things in there as well. So I could make etc Prometheus the home directory, or var lib Prometheus. Yeah, we create that as well. I feel strange making an etc directory a home directory. Where does var lib come from? That's not in here, right? No. I think that was arbitrary in the Prometheus. Yeah. That's hard-coded in here. But I think what we should do is move this to the default recipe and make it the home directory. Let's look up that the syntax is actually correct. Chef user resource. It is home. Okay. So let's converge this one more time. That should automatically change the home directory for the user. But you want just asking. All right. Thanks for joining us here. No worries. Hope to talk soon. Okay, that did not work. Why didn't it work though? User Prometheus is currently used by a process. Yeah, okay, so the user can't be changed. You know what? Let's skip out of here and let's do a TKD, which destroys this current VM, and we'll set it up from scratch so that we don't get a mess here. And we're already almost up on the 3rd hour. Time flies when you're having strange authentication effects. Would this have been a great opportunity to play Words on Stream? Yes, it would. So we do. Words on Stream. Oh, setup failed. You hate to see it. Let's bookmark this. Okay. Oh, just a second. I think I need to open the... Do I? Let's take a look at the door camera. Did someone open? Yeah, I need to open. I'll be right back. Strange authentication affects Proxeus. Yep. Let's do some words on stream. Maybe let's take a look at the error that I got first. Why did it break? Cannot determine. Oh, okay. So we need to create the user first, and then we create the home directory, because then we can actually assign the permissions correctly. Okay, fair enough. The problem is we won't be able to create a my.conf with root credentials, because yeah, MySQL will look past our ruse, because the Prometheus user is not the root user. That's where the auth socket authentication has its limits. So that's something that we'll have to set up another time. I'll probably do that tomorrow, and so we'll actually switch to the game now. Use the letters to build words. Every letter only comes once, and later there might be fake letters that you can't actually use. You'll be locked until the bar passes the lock, and then you can guess again. One more point. One more point. Nice one. Oh, yeah, 2 hours. Yeah, okay. We're off to a good start. Almost thought no one would smother their pride and enter mid. Mitten? I wouldn't have guessed that. Oh wow, look at that. Now I would have guessed. Now exit it. Put it in. Wonder what the others were. Item. Yeah, very good. Another 2 levels. Well done, champs. To find an anagram, that's new. Can we make it? That was close. Wait, when did I enter sect? I did enter sect. I didn't mean to. I don't think. My brain is going on autopilot. Okay, interesting. He's a user. Kill him. Ah, Balthazar stole it away from me. And stole the nurse too. Resub was missing the B, but I definitely appreciate the thought. What the what? Oof, okay. That Catholic upbringing has to be good for something. It's probably the F, isn't it? Another close call. What? It's the S. Omen is nice. Two levels. We'll take it. Wow. Nice done. Nicely done. Is it the W? No, the W isn't it. Isn't the I? Yeah, it's the D. Fork does work, dog doesn't. But work does. We are too far off. Frank is a very, very valid word, I think. I think I'll use the word frank at least 3 times over the rest of the day. All right, folks. That concludes our game as well as our stream here. What? Frank is a word that Tesla coined? Nikola Tesla, or the company Tesla? I think the word frank is older than the Tesla. Anyway, this was fun. Again, 3 hours. A year ago, I could not have dreamed of running streams for 3 hours because I was so tired and demotivated and things like that. So, yeah, I was talking about Frank. Exegete said, I hope Frank isn't a word yet. I'm not sure why, but I think it's a very nice word. I like it. And I think I'll keep calling my kids Frank from now on. Oh no. Oh, Frank as in front trunk? Yeah, no. That, oh god. No. Nope. Just no. Everyone, thank you for joining me here for this first live stream of the week, and there will be 2 more, at least. One on Thursday afternoon, 2 p.m. UTC with another live coding stream. We'll probably continue on the monitoring track here. On Friday, there will be the usual office hour at 2 p.m. UTC too. And apart from that, everyone join the Discord if you are looking for a nice bunch of people who you can talk to and who you can ask about all kinds of stuff, IT related or not. That's something that I can definitely recommend. There is going to be an extension of the community, which is called The Server Room, which will launch in March. It's a paid membership community for people who seriously want to boost their career and get ahead by getting personal mentorship and do group projects and things like that. And you can sign up for the launch list at the moment, which will make sure that you will be among the first who get the launch coupon that will give you a founder discount of 50% for the lifetime of your subscription. So be sure to join the launch mailing list where you'll get that coupon code that will only be valid for the first 20 signups. So that's going to be interesting. And apart from that, I think that's it for today. I had a lot of fun. We did make a little bit of progress with the monitoring automation, and I hope to be able to finish that on Thursday. Until then, there's only one thing to get sorted, and that's who we are going to raid. So let me go to Twitch and see who's online at the moment. Oh, that's a long list. And I think we haven't raided Mark for quite a while. So let's go ahead and join Finite Singularity. The man with the best shader-based stream effects. Exegete recommends or suggests Trash Puppy. Yeah, we could do that too. I don't think I have raided Trash Puppy in quite a while. So, yep, let's go for Trash Puppy. Oh, that being said, I think we just raided her recently. Nope, we'll go for Finite. All right. So, yeah, thank you everyone, and take care.